All right, guys, this is part 2. Okay, this is part 2 of our final exam review. So today we're going to cover the rest of the content in this PowerPoint. Now, I need to make it clear too, though. This does not cover between what we did on Friday and what we're doing today. It doesn't cover every single question on your final. You say, well, then what are we doing? Well, it is the majority of it, okay? But you also need to use your practice test from Big Ideas. You need to be going back, opening up those assignments, looking back through them. At this point, you have seen every question that's going to be on your final, or at least the type of question. Practice test were about 90 questions total, and you have 50 questions on your final exam. Okay, and then what I did in these PowerPoints is I took the information from your final exam that I felt like we needed another review. Okay, so let me just get that off. All right, so let's kind of advance through and pick up where we left off. Okay, so we left off on Friday. Okay, and we have the constant of the proportionality. So I don't remember. I think we were kind of like squeezing this one in at the very end of class. So let's talk about the constant of the proportionality. Does anybody remember what that means? What that means? Jonah?
Like, how much the x has to divide by y.
Okay, so where do I find it? Where do I find it? Okay, the constant of the proportionality is my slope. It's always where m goes in the equation. That is the operation I need to do to x to get to my y value. It doesn't matter what value I plug in for x. I'm going to multiply it by 6 to get to y. Okay, all right, so 6 is my constant. Do the ratios form a proportion? So what you need to do on this problem, did we do this one on Friday? Okay, is you need to put both ratios into a fraction. 14 over 20 equals 84 over 100. Okay, now there's two ways that you can tell whether or not it forms a proportion. One way works sometimes. The other way works every single time. The way that works every time is something that we call cross products. I can multiply my cross products. 14 times 100 is 1400. And 20 times 84 is what? What's 20 times 84? Somebody punch that in real quick for me. Okay, 1680. Do those numbers equal each other? No. So these ratios do not form a proportion. Okay? All right, so telling whether they do, put them in fractions and cross multiply. All right. Okay, so now we have a slope question and y-intercept actually. It says the total y dollars spent buying X strawberry plants is represented by the equation y equals 4x. Interpret the slope and the y-intercept. I want you guys just to work with a buddy sitting next to you and try to figure out what would be my slope interpretation and my y-intercept. We're just going to take about a minute or two to discuss this. And then, we'll go over it. Right? So we know that slope is where in the equation? I'm going to draw an arrow to it. Where m should be, okay? And we know that slope is rise over run. Please pay attention to this, rise over run. Which value, my x or my y value, is my rise? Which one goes up and down, x or y, guys? Y. My y value goes up and down. So if this is rise over run, that means whatever number is in the top of my slope, that is my y value. Does everybody see why that's y? Okay, so whatever number is in the bottom part of the slope, that is my x value. Now you must put that into a sentence. Okay, so it's going to cost $4. How did I know that? Because this is my y value and y stands for dollars. It will cost $4 per plant. Okay, now I'm kind of abbreviating that, but as long as you can tell that, you will be able to choose the correct answer. Remember, this is a multiple choice test. So you're either going to be looking at the correct answers or it would be none of the above. There is that option on probably about 2/3 of your test. You have to be confident in your answer, okay? $4 per plant. What about the y-intercept? Can anybody tell me what's happening with my y-intercept in this question? What about my y-intercept? What do you think, Jonah?
0.
It is 0. So what does that mean? How can I put that into a sentence? My y-intercept is 0, so Chloe?
You pay nothing for no plants.
If I buy no plants, I pay no money, right? So what kind of relationship do we call that? Anybody remember? It starts with a P. I hear it. A proportional relationship, because a proportional relationship says when X is 0, so is Y. If I buy no plants, I'm going to pay no money. That only makes sense, right? Okay, so that's those questions. Now we need to talk probability. Okay, so this is the one formula that's missing on your paper. I just happened to overlook it. Okay, so I need you to write down this formula on your paper. PE, which means percent error, equals AOE. Does anybody remember what AOE stands for? The amount of error divided by the actual amount. Okay, so this is a formula you're going to need to know for tomorrow. All right, I want you to go ahead and calculate that AOE, all right, or the percent error, and we'll go over it in just a minute. Right, so what is my amount of error, guys? 40. And what was the actual amount? 500. So when you do that division, 40 divided by 500, okay, you should get 0.08. But what is that as a percentage? 8%. Okay, so I believe the percent is actually the choice that we're looking for there. All right, any questions on percent error? So it's really not too difficult as long as we remember the formula. All right. Okay, so let's answer this next one. All right, there are 15 red cards in a deck and 25 black cards. You randomly choose one card. What is the probability that you would choose a black card? All right, so go ahead and answer this question, please. All right, guys, what did you divide? What did you divide? All right, probability that it's going to be black equals how many black cards? 25 over 40. And when you do that division, you get 0.625. And so that's 62.5%. 62.5%. Yes. Even if you reduce it, it should still be 62.5%. Okay, so all I'm looking for is the percentage there. If you reduce it, that's one extra step that's not needed. Okay, but that was a great question. All right, here's our last type of probability question. The total number of possible outcomes. Okay, this is a real simple, this is about one of the easiest problems on your test if you can recognize what it's asking you for. That's probably the challenge here. Find the total number of possible outcomes when your wardrobe has 32 shirts, 15 pairs of pants, and 12 pairs of socks. There's two ways to find it. There's one that's absolutely ridiculous and would take you probably the whole hour. There's one that would take you about 15 seconds. Okay. So, where's y'all's calculators? You guys have your calculators?
They're in my belt.
Okay, get them out. You can't get this answer without some type of... All right, Chloe, you have a calculator on you? All right. Okay, so what you need to do, the total number of possible outcomes means the fundamental counting principle, which says you take the total from each category and you multiply them together. That's all you have to do. 32 times 15 times 12. 5,760. Outcomes, outfits, however you want to say it. Okay? All right, so when you see on your test, when you see total number of possible outcomes, you would multiply the total of each category together. And that's it, guys. Now, the other option is sample space, which this would be absolutely insane. I would say borderline impossible. Okay? So fundamental counting principle is the way to go. Yes.
You just had to do it like do the other
With a sample space, we had fewer totals in each one. It was like if you flip a coin, so there's 2. Here, there's 32, 15, and 12. But if you flipped a coin, absolutely. The sample space would be possible if, say, you rolled a number cube with 6 sides and you flipped a coin that had 2 sides. But with categories with this many in each category, it's virtually impossible to do a sample space. Okay? So sample space really only works when there's smaller numbers. Yes?
On the final, will the formula be on there?
No, they won't. So the formulas that are on the paper that I gave you, you have to know them. Okay? But I did narrow them down for you. So the formulas you see on the paper are the ones that you need to know. Okay? All right. So percent and simple interest. What is the selling price of a $25 item when it is marked up 80%? All right. Let's go ahead and solve that problem. It's on the screen. Okay. So now we're going for a surefire way of getting the correct answer every time. Okay? I prefer the percent equation, and again, I was out on maternity leave for this one, so it seemed to me that you guys were more familiar with the is over of equals P over 100. Okay? So my percent obviously gets plugged in where? For P. Okay? Now, if I'm looking for the selling price or basically a part, okay, 25 is going to be my of. So most of the challenge here is figuring out where the numbers get plugged into my formula. So is over of would be the same thing as A over 25 equals 80 over 100. Okay? Now, there's 2 ways you can solve the proportion. You could figure out the missing link here. So 25 times what equals 100? 4. So if there's a clear missing link here, you can do it top and bottom. So then 80 divided by 4 would be 20, okay? Now, cross products, though, if there's no clear connection between, cross products works every time. And 25 times 80 was 2,000 equals 100A. All right, now we divide both sides by 100, and A, or the part, is $20. But this is not my answer, okay? It's a markup. So if it's a markup, how would I find my final price? I would add it back. So it's going to be $45. $20 would definitely be one of your answer options. Guys, this is not the only way to solve this problem, okay? When we're dealing with percent problems, the proportion works every time, but so does the equation. And depending on which part you're solving for, there's another shortcut that you could take too, okay? But for the sake of the fact that you're about to take your final exam, this method will work every time as long as you plug them in the right spot. All right, so $45 is your final answer. I guess what I'm saying is if you got to $45 a different way, you probably did it right too, okay? And again, on a multiple choice test, all I care about is which answer you bubbled in. Okay, so you will turn in your work, but if you guess, you guess, and you guessed correctly. All right, so you borrow $1,200 to purchase a computer. You pay 5% interest for 3 years. How much did you pay in total after the loan was paid off? All right, so you're going to need a formula. Hopefully, you can figure that out pretty quickly and work together to find your answer. So what is my formula, guys? Can we say our formula together? Yes, I equals PRT. What does P stand for? Principal. So I equals the principal amount that I borrowed, $1,200, times my rate as a decimal. What is my rate?
0.05.
0.05 times 3. Now when I multiply all those numbers together, what do I get?
180.
All right, so that's going to be one of your answer choices. Is that the answer to this question?
No.
Madeline, let's put it up. Thank you. Where is your actual calculator?
In my backpack.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and pull out your calculator. All right, okay, so 180 is not my answer. What is my answer? What's my answer, guys? It's not my answer. What is the question? How much did you pay in total? You paid $180 in interest, but yes, you have to go back and add that to the original amount you borrowed. You still paid back what you borrowed too.
1,300.
Yes, 1,380. That is the correct answer. How much did you pay in total? Okay, so that's why you always hear pay cash for stuff, right? Because you just paid $1,380 for a $1,200 computer. All right, when you could have paid cash. Okay, we've got a couple circle problems. All right. Yep, you're going to have to know the formulas, but I narrowed it down a little bit for you. Okay, so without the formula, you're not going to be able to solve this. It's going to be a guess. All right, so to find the circumference with radius, what's my formula? C equals, what is it? It is, it's 2 pi r. Okay, so C equals 2 pi r. Now, you could have said pi d and just doubled the radius. Okay, so C equals 2 times 3.14 times my radius, which is 4. And then what is my circumference, guys? Okay, and it is approximated. That part won't really matter for your test, but 25.12 centimeters. All right, now for the area, A equals pi r squared. A equals 3.14. What is the radius? What is my radius, guys? 6 squared. So 36 times 3.14 equals 113.04. A is approximately 113.04 inches squared. All right, so circles. Did you guys get those right? It really just comes down to formulas, right? Right? Okay. All right, so that's my circles. Now I think we have transformations next. Okay, so again, we're focusing in on pretty similar questions to what you would see. Obviously, it would be in the form of a question, but these concepts, okay, for transformations, go ahead and answer these 3 problems. Okay, what would be my new ordered pair? Emily, what did you get for your new ordered pair for the reflection?
Positive 4, positive.
Yeah, would you agree? That's correct. So to reflect across y, I do the opposite of x. All right, how many people got 4, 5? Raise your hand if you got 4, 5. Did you guys get it? Okay, what about to translate? What about to translate? Ella, what'd you get for that one? 0 and 6. Great job. Great job. Because to go 4 units left, I subtract 4. And to go 2 units down, I subtract 2. Okay? So if you translate a triangle 3 units left, is the image still a triangle?
Yes.
Yes. Because a translation does not change the shape. A translation simply shifts the image or shifts the shape. So a difficult question ends up being actually a pretty simple answer. Okay? Yeah, of course it's still. All right, so now we have some exponents, guys. I need you to just take about 2 minutes to work through these exponent problems. Okay, so 4 to the negative 4th power, is that ready to evaluate? Selah?
Yes.
Okay, so what can I do?
So you put it over 1.
Yep.
And then you flip it to make the negative positive.
Yep.
And it's 1 over 4 to the 4th power.
1 over 256. Okay, you have to evaluate it. So guys, guess what? I'm going to give you 1 over 4 to the 4th power as one of your answer choices. So if this one is answer A, and this one is answer B, will you know to pick A? Okay? Because it says to evaluate. It says to evaluate. So when it says to evaluate, you cannot leave your answer a power. All right? Okay, so to evaluate 3b to the third power, what mistake did I make with my answer? 9b to the third power. What mistake did I make?
You did 3 times 3, not 3.
Yes, I did 3 times 3. What should it be, Nyla? Yes, 27b to the third power. That's what it should be. All right, so let's do these last 3 together. Everyone, m to the 13th, g to the 32nd, and h to the third power. All right, so this goes, guys, listen, if this is 3 questions on your final, that's 6 points right there that we just answered in about 8 seconds. Okay? So that's how you're going to get through the final, right? There's going to be questions like this that you answer fast, like really fast. Then there's other questions that it takes a few minutes to work through. All right? Scientific notation. Okay, let's do these 4 problems. All right, so we need to work quickly, about 2 minutes to do these problems. We'll go over it, and then we'll do our last 2 equation problems, and that'll be a wrap. All right, guys, so let's say these together. 6.24 times 10 to the negative 6 power. So if I give you negative and a positive option, will you know to pick the negative? Okay. All right, let's say the next one. 1.468 times 10 to the 11th power. All right, on my next problem, did you check for common exponents first? Okay, so now that I know I have common exponents, did you add the decimal values together? Let me ask you this. Did you add your exponents together?
No.
No, you should not have, because this is addition. You bring down the common power. If this is option A on your exam, are you going to pick it?
No. Yeah, you're not supposed to put anything over 10.
Oh, no.
It cannot be over 10. So what do you think would be the correct answer, Emily?
1.06 times 10 to the power of 5.
Yes, 1.06 times 10 to the power of 5. So if that's option B, I'm picking option B. All right, did you guys catch that this time around? I think the first time around, a lot of people missed it because, that's just something that needed a little bit more review. All right, what about my next one? What did you guys get?
4.8 times 10 to the power.
Okay, so we had 48 times 10 to the power of, do I bring down my common power with multiplication?
No.
When it's multiplication, what do I need to do? Add the powers. 10 to the power of 8. However, is this my final answer? No. What do I need to do, guys?
Add 1 to the left.
4.8 times 10 to the 9th power. I must bump my decimal to give me a number between 1 and 10. When that happens, I must add 1 to my power. Okay? All right, one more slide. This is our last slide. We have equations. We're going to take about 2 minutes to solve these equations, and then we'll go over the answers, and that'll be it. All right, here we go, guys. What did you do first? Add 3 to both sides. Did you guys do that?
Yes.
3x squared equals 243. Did you divide both sides by 3?
Yes.
X squared equals 81. Did you square root
Yes.
both sides? Did you get 9? It's wrong. So if I give you 9 as an answer choice on your midterm or on your final, it's not correct. Why? Positive, negative. It's both positive and negative. So if I give you the positive option, the negative option, both, will you know the sign of your answer? Okay? All right, hold your question just for a minute. What do I do on the last equation? Multiply both sides by 3. C to the third equals 216. And I take the cubed root to get C by itself. And C equals only 6, because when it's cubed root, and I did, let's say I tried to do positive, negative 6 3 times does not equal positive 216. So it's only positive negative when I'm taking the square root, okay? Like I said, this is not every single question on your final, but it is most of it. You still need to use your practice test, guys, but these videos will be posted on Google Classroom. This is one of your most important resources to study for your final exam tomorrow, okay? So make sure you come in ready to go for your exam tomorrow. We will be having some discussion, but we're not going to be actively reviewing and like doing practice problems, okay? So tomorrow, that review time is meant for you. We're asking questions and we're getting ready to take the final exam. All right, and that's everything.